1944 and the sun rises on a new day in the South Pacific. It's extremely hot and humid. An Imperial Japanese Army battalion is holding positions along a gentle ridge, and a U.S. Marine battalion must take it. The Marines attack using their mortars, machine guns, and flamethrowers in perfect coordination. While the Japanese put up a strong fight, they're ultimately no match for the battle-hardened discipline of the Marines. But what if these World War II Marines didn't use their experience and efficiency against the Japanese? In this video, we're putting two very different generations of U.S. Marines into the same brutal scenario and asking a simple question: who wins? A modern U.S. Marine battalion or a battle-hardened World War II Pacific veteran battalion, if you strip away modern tech and level the playing field? Side A modern U.S. Marine battalion. Current doctrine, current training mindset, modern understanding of small unit tactics, leadership, and field medicine, but using World War II-era weapons and supplies. Side B, a World War II U.S. Marine Battalion, veterans of the Pacific. These are not green troops. They've seen island fighting, close quarters combat, and sustained hardship. In this scenario, their physicality is equalized. Same height, weight, and basic physical hardware. Both sides use World War II-era small arms and support weapons. M1 Garands, BARs, M1919 machine guns, and 60mm mortars. In this scenario, the modern Marines have trained exclusively on this gear for their entire careers, meaning that their ability to use the World War II gear will be as good as their ability to use modern gear in real life. Ammunition, food, and water are identical in quantity and quality. No air support, no artillery beyond mortars, no vehicles, no GPS, no NVGs, no modern radios, only World War II-era comms like runners and flares. The engagement will be fought in a jungle environment with a central ridgeline as the key objective. To be victorious, they must either totally wipe out the enemy, force a retreat from them, or force a surrender. Days 1 to 3. Initial engagement. Both battalions enter the area of operations, moving toward the central ridgeline from opposite directions. Patrols push forward, feeling out the terrain, establishing tentative lines, and probing for the enemy. Within a few hours, point men from both sides spot each other in a semi-clearing. The World War II Marines respond with immediate aggression. They do what worked in the Pacific: fix the enemy with heavy fire and attempt to flank. Volume of fire goes up quickly as they try to pin the modern Marines in place. However, the modern Marines refuse to get pinned down this early. Instead of digging in and trading fire, they execute a controlled break contact, peeling back and using the jungle to disappear. To the World War II commander, that withdrawal looks like weakness. He pushes forward, extending his line into what he thinks is an opportunity. What he doesn't know is that the modern battalion has already mapped likely avenues of approach and presided their 60mm mortars on those routes. The World War II Marines have inadvertently walked into a trap. Within a day, heavy rain and strong winds hit. Visibility drops to around 50 meters. Movement becomes slower, footing becomes worse, and sound is distorted by the constant downpour. The modern Marines lean into this. They use the rain as concealment, shifting positions, tightening their perimeter, and running stand-to, drills at random intervals. They prioritize noise discipline and hand signals, refined over decades of modern infantry practice. The World War II Marines, by contrast, rely more on shouted commands and verbal coordination. In the rain, that means their positions and movements are easier to detect because they must shout louder to be heard. Small World War II scouting elements bump into alert modern positions and take losses, reinforcing the perception that the enemy is both everywhere and nowhere at the same time. By day 3, both sides have their 60mm mortars in play. The World War II battalion sets up more static mortar pits and unleashes a heavy barrage on suspected modern positions. The modern Marines respond with shoot and scoot tactics. Mortar teams fire a few rounds, then immediately displace. When the World War II side tries to answer with counterfire, they're hitting empty positions. Meanwhile, modern counter-battery fire, based on better fire discipline and quicker adjustment, knocks out several of the World War II mortar teams that remain stationary. By the end of day 3, casualties are still moderate on both sides, but a pattern is emerging. The modern Marines are harder to pin, harder to locate, and more willing to trade ground for survivability. Days 4 to 7, the grind. The rain eases, but the heat and humidity spike. The jungle starts to steam. This is where the difference in medical knowledge and field hygiene begins to matter. On the World War II side, minor cuts and blisters from the first days are starting to fester. Jungle rot, dysentery, and general infection creep in. A significant chunk of their force becomes partially or fully combat ineffective, not from bullets, but from illness and exhaustion. The modern Marines drilled relentlessly on hygiene and preventive care, enforce strict routines, changing socks, drying feet when possible, cleaning small wounds, and maintaining hydration. They're tired and stressed, but their overall combat effectiveness remains much higher. The World War II commander becomes frustrated. Every time he thinks he has the modern Marines fixed, they slip away, then reappear with accurate fire from unexpected angles. Patrols report an enemy that seems to avoid decisive engagement but punishes every mistake. Fed up with the elusive enemy, he orders a large, frontal assault to break what he believes is the main modern line. Aggressive, close quarters, bayonets fixed, trying to overwhelm through shock and courage. However, the modern Marines are ready. Their defensive positions are built around interlocking fields of fire and final protective lines, concepts refined with decades of doctrine and training. When the World War II force charges, they run into overlapping machine gun lanes, coordinated rifle fire, and disciplined fire control. The result is brutal. The World War II assault is stopped with heavy casualties. The modern Marines take losses too, but they hold their ground and maintain cohesion. For the World War II Battalion, this is a psychological blow. Courage alone isn't breaking the enemy. By this point, the lines haven't moved much. Both sides are still contesting the approaches to the ridgeline. But under the surface, the divergence is growing. World War II, morale is strained, medical issues are mounting, and their failed assault has cost them experienced NCOs and junior officers. The modern Marines, while exhausted, still have a more intact command structure and healthier troops. It's day 8, and the modern battalion commander identifies a key terrain feature. The World War II right flank is anchored on a dense swamp they've written off as impassable. Modern doctrine, however, treats terrain as a problem to solve, not a hard stop. A modern platoon is tasked with a miserable job, spending up to 12 hours crawling, wading, and dragging gear through that swamp to get around the flank. That platoon finally emerges behind the World War II lines, not in front of their main combat elements, but near their supply and medical areas. Instead of trying to wipe out the entire battalion from the rear, they focus on critical nodes, ammo dumps, medical tents, and key logistics points. The result is devastating. The World War II Marines lose reserve ammunition, food and water, and medical supplies, especially morphine and other pain control. Word spreads quickly. The rear is not safe, and resupply is compromised. Panic doesn't explode all at once, but confidence erodes. The sense that they're being outmaneuvered, not just outshot, becomes hard to ignore. The World War II battalion starts to fracture. Modern Marines launch a coordinated push from the front while maintaining pressure from the rear. Runners are intercepted or delayed. The World War II battalion effectively breaks into several isolated pockets, each fighting its own local battle with incomplete information. The modern Marines, by contrast, maintain better internal coordination, even with the same era communication, simply because their doctrine and training emphasize decentralized command and initiative at lower levels. The isolated World War II groups fight hard. These are veterans. They don't fold easily. They dig in, create hasty strong points, and make the modern Marines pay for every meter. But the modern approach is methodical. Instead of rushing positions in costly frontal assaults, they use grenades, marksmen, and coordinated fire to pick off leaders and key weapons. They focus on breaking command and control rather than just trading bodies. Medical reality widens the gap further. World War II, wounded with limited supplies and less advanced understanding of trauma care, are dying from shock, infection, and blood loss. Modern wounded, even with World War II era gear, benefit from better training in bleeding control, shock management, and triage. More of them survive and return to the fight. The remaining World War II commander, now down to roughly 40% effective strength, recognizes that holding the ridgeline is no longer realistic. Ammunition is low, medical capacity is shattered, and they're being squeezed from multiple directions. He orders a fighting withdrawal to the south. They burn or destroy what equipment they can to create smoke and confusion, then mass for a breakout through what they judge to be the thinnest part of the modern line. The breakout works, but only partially. Some World War II elements manage to punch through and disengage, driven by desperation and experience in close combat. The modern Marines, however, retain control of the ridgeline and the key terrain. They choose not to pursue aggressively. Their objective was area denial, and they've achieved it. Winner, the modern U.S. Marine Battalion, but it's not a clean, effortless victory. It's a Pyrrhic one. The modern Marines prevail because they outlast, not just outshoot, their World War II counterparts. Better small unit tactics, superior field hygiene, more effective use of mortars, and a deeper understanding of coordination and flanking gradually grind down the World War II battalion. By the end, the World War II Marines are defeated as much by infection, exhaustion, and broken logistics as by direct fire. They're forced into a fighting retreat, ceding the ridgeline and the objective. The modern battalion holds the ground, but with heavy casualties and a force that's been pushed to its limits. The takeaway isn't that one generation is braver than the other. It's that doctrine, training, and survivability have evolved to turn the same human hardware into a more enduring, if still very human, fighting force. But what about you? Who do you think would win out? Let us know in the comments down below, and thanks for watching.